Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us today for the 6th installment of our AV++ webinar series from MAD Systems. Today's webinar, we are going to cover QuickSilver Toolbox. I'm Brandy, and I'm the Business Development Manager at MAD Systems, and I'll be one of your hosts today. I'll be joined by Jessica Bill later on, who will provide a live demo from our MAD lab. So please stay tuned for that later on. Bear with me a second. There we go. Just a bit of housekeeping. We welcome all your questions today, so please feel free to use the Q&A or chat panel for any questions you might have. We'll be taking the last 10 minutes of the session to address those. For those of you unfamiliar with MAD Systems, we're an award-winning technology company specializing in audio-visual systems integration and interactive exhibits. We use the latest technology when designing AV systems using non-proprietary equipment wherever possible, to create long-lasting and easy-to-maintain technology for museums, visitor centers, and theme parks. Our extraordinary toolkit goes well beyond the basic needs of AV, and our fully equipped mechanical workshop allows us to produce exhibits from single support structures to complex devices such as ORIs, earthquake simulators, and moving mechanical special effects. We have a patent pending on facial and color, as well as license plate recognition, media-based delivery. Today, we're going to be covering 5 of the tools in the QuickSilver Toolbox, including Lifesaver, TrueCheck, DrinkMe, Dormouse, and Caterpillar. I'll be giving you an overview of each of those and discuss their features. Please note this webinar by no means covers every single part of the QuickSilver range. There are quite a number of product and product variations, including various inputs, outputs, and a host of other equipment, and also some other tools and devices that the system configuration of QuickSilver has made possible. For those of you who missed our first webinar on QuickSilver, let me catch you up to speed. You can find this webinar in its entirety on our YouTube channel and our website. QuickSilver is a complete AV system designed to build and built as to work as a system. That little Hershey bar that you see at the very top there is in essence QuickSilver, designed to be a complete AV system, unlike all others. Traditionally, we've used this black box or this black box and hoped and prayed that they all work together with no hiccups. When QuickSilver was conceived, our engineers put together sort of wish lists that would give us better flexibility, more capabilities, little to no cable and conduit needed, and at a lower cost. I love these pictures. The one on the left is obviously what we know and use regularly today, racks. With QuickSilver, you get all that space back. And on the right, these are our techs at the airport and walking through the door of a museum with a full AV system in the box. So for those of you who are curious, the parts contained within that box are 14 video servers, 4 which were synchronous, 1 rotary video viewer, 14 audio replay units randomizing, 14 audio amps, 1 show and system controller, 1 set of Wi-Fi equipment, 25 power controllers, and 4 button sets for reader rails. It's a mouthful, but just think of that for a second in terms of infrastructure and space savings. With QuickSilver, you gain back a huge part of your AV budget, and you gain back a substantial amount of your real estate. Now, let's move on to some various tools and features of the QuickSilver Toolbox. Concerns about green AV or LEED qualifications? Lifesaver reduces power bills and increases the longevity of your equipment. Isn't that what LEED is all about? Lifesaver uses inputs, including buttons and sensors, which are part of an existing system with additional motion sensors and or cameras to keep an eye on how busy a venue is. If the venue is quiet, parts of it can be powered down in spaces where there aren't any visitors. Think for a second of your grocery store frozen food section, where the lights kind of get turned on as you get a little bit near and dim if no one else is around. Another area where there is significant savings is with regards to equipment life. Plenty of equipment can either be used on economy mode, low power mode, or even be turned off until it's needed. Audio volume can also be reduced, and even non-essential lighting can be turned down. Even in the case of LED lights, it would be worth it to save power and further extend the life of your lighting fixtures. The increase in equipment longevity that this can provide will more than offset the cost of additional sensors and programming required to make this work. The need for TrueCheck was identified after we got Lifesaver to work. So Lifesaver can put the system in a low power state, And TrueCheck can help verify that the system gets out of that standby or low power mode by making sure that all the equipment is on and operational. If you turn projectors or other system sections off or to standby and bring that part of the gallery back alive when there are visitors heading into that direction, wouldn't it be handy if you could do a true check of all that equipment to make sure that everything is running? TrueCheck uses low-cost light and audio sensors that are integrated within the space where the system is located. Special short file samples are run on video and audio servers, and lights are sequenced. Their presence is detected within the space so that we know that all the equipment is up and functional. This process takes just seconds, so that going from an off or standby state is fast, and the system behavior is always checked to make sure that any issues are automatically detected and reported. There are other diagnostics that are available with some amps, projectors, and monitors, but ultimately, if you can hear the audio and see the light output from the projector, you know you're good to go. Our DrinkMe is a revolutionary design and auto configuration software. We'll show you this live in our demo, so stay tuned for that. Since we are in control of all of QuickSilver Systems components, it became clear that we could create software that allows us to automate most of the AV system design tasks. With DrinkMe, you start with a plan view of your venue, add all the peripherals that you want, including projectors, monitors, lighting, speakers, amps, and anything else you might need. You then add all the media, real or dummy files, and then add the QuickSilver components that you want to drive that system. Once the drawing is complete and it contains all the equipment that you want, you simply press the Create button to generate the system. Outputs include the part list, heat and power loads, IP addresses, network details, and a file for the show controller with power management already programmed, ready for show programming, and all the equipment, drivers, and exhibit details are already loaded. A directory structure is created for the media management system and all the files for the individual QuickSilver elements so that we can just program all of it. Tea Party then controls the show and power to the system, and it monitors the system and provides data for trend analysis to predict maintenance needs. We also have assisted self-healing that will allow our clients to look after their system using low-cost, common, and easy-to-obtain vanilla spares. Simply plug and play, and you're back up and running very quickly. Additionally, by using a remote assist feature over a secured internet link, we can provide long-term support for our clients. And since QuickSilver is based on 100% non-proprietary hardware, you'll still be able to get replacements even years from now. Another amazing tool in our QuickSilver Toolbox is the Dormouse Audio Storytelling and Visitor Guidance System. It's mainly used for museums and visitor centers, but it's highly adaptable. It's a portable audio device equipped with an open headset. We've recently found some inexpensive headsets that are under $1 and can be disposed of after one use. Dormouse uses the same non-proprietary components as we do in QuickSilver and is controlled by using barcodes, RFID, and/or our patent-pending recognition media-based delivery systems. This is the most advanced audio guidance system available. Dormouse Audio Tour Guide is polyphonic, and also randomizing, so that your visitors can walk through a battlefield, for instance, listening to a randomized soundscape. They walk past the cannon to hear it go off, superimposed onto an ever-changing battlefield of sounds. And then when they reach a viewpoint, a narration overlays the background to inform them of what happened there. It's different and better, and most important, it keeps families together. Some of the unique features of Dormouse include that it supports any number of different languages. For hearing impaired guests, we have an inductive loop option to use with their own T-switched equipped hearing aid. For visually impaired visitors, we can incorporate it as part of the QuickSilver Caterpillar system, which we'll discuss next. We can even provide different content based on interest level or age range. It supports any number of audio tracks within the limitation of the available memory. And as I mentioned, it can be triggered by barcode, RFID, location-based information derived from beacons, either directional or triangulation, or Matt's recognition system with sensors built into the exhibits or location. It has a language selection tool that can be used by pre-configuration or by interactive display selection, and it can also trigger other events that are part of the system, like lighting, special effects, or other audio or video. And or it can be triggered all devices in a group when the entire family or group reaches a certain point, and the entire group can have different content. But since the audio tracks can be run at the same time, the wow and the funny moments can happen all at the same time, independent of the version of the audio that is running, so that the experience is shared. This is the only audio tour guidance system that can do this. Dormouse is a great example of how we're taking our methodology of using non-proprietary equipment. The Dormouse battery that we selected is capable of running the audio tour guide for 12 hours, and it's the same type of battery you'd carry to recharge your cell phone. So if a client has batteries that are starting to deteriorate, they'll easily be able to pick up replacements from Amazon. And at that point, they'll likely be even cheaper, smaller, and more powerful than they are today. Anyone here concerned with ADA compliance? Well, we should all be concerned with ADA requirements, and not only to meet them, but to try to exceed them whenever possible to ensure that all of our visitors are having a great experience. QuickSilver was designed to help with just that. We've developed a guide system called Caterpillar, that I mentioned a second ago, that will guide a visually impaired person through the experience from point to point, exhibit to exhibit, using a safe route without obstacles. Imagine a system that will guide a visually impaired visitor with a cane from the entry to the next exhibit with audio, and if relevant, high contrast video adapted as well. With the help of sensors, our Caterpillar tool can assist the visually impaired and let them truly enjoy the experience, the exhibits. Another ADA assist that can be of use with our facial recognition, color recognition, or QR-based system is a facility whereby interactives can be made to self-adapt or to be controlled by visitors that need some extra help. Imagine an exhibit like this one that you're seeing with a number of buttons that are not reachable by kids and for people in wheelchairs. If we see someone that would not be able to reach the controls, or if the visitor wants to bring the buttons down, it's totally possible. As you can see here, the buttons are now brought down to the right level for people who don't have access to the various buttons in their default condition. Other adaptations, automatic or visitor controlled, can also be made. For example, with a visually impaired visitor, we can run the interactive in high contrast mode so that it's possible for a designer to design an interactive however they want, with plenty of easy options to accommodate them. This way, we can exceed ADA requirements. That takes us through the tools from our QuickSilver Toolbox that we're presenting today. Remember, we've only taken on the main components, and there's quite a bit more to QuickSilver than we've covered in this webinar today. I'm certain the live demo with Jessica will bring some creative uses for this technology as well. So we're going to go over to the Mad Lab now, and I'm going to hand this presentation over to Jessica. She's going to show you a live demo of Drink Me, followed by a walkthrough of our lab to show you some other demonstrations that we have on tap today. After that, I'll meet you back here for the Q&A. So please feel free, use the Q&A or chat panel, and we will pose those questions after the demo. Take it away, Miss Jessica.
Hi, everyone, and thanks, Brandy. My name is Jessica, and I'm going to be taking you through the demonstration portion of today's webinar. Remember, if you guys do have any questions, you can include those in the Q&A section so that Brandy can get to those following this demonstration. So I'm starting off on my computer today because I want to be able to show you guys our Drink Me software, and then I'm going to be going into the Mad Lab to show you some other demonstrations. Drink Me is our auto-configuring AV system, and it's part of our QuickSilver solution. It's quite a revolution because it is the easiest way to design and implement your AV system. With Drink Me, you start off by uploading a PDF of the venue layout that you're going to be working in, and then you can add all of the equipment into the right locations. And then Drink Me is going to output a number of files for you that would typically take a lot of time and manpower to create, and it's going to give you a lot of information very efficiently. Drink Me vastly reduces the amount of effort needed to plan out your AV system. So let me get into showing you the basics of Drink Me. I already have it pulled up on my computer here, so let me just share this with you quickly. And so the first step for us with using DrinkMe would be to upload a PDF of the venue layout that we're working in. And I've already done that here. This is a PDF of the floor plan for a water district client. We actually installed a complete QuickSilver system for them in this space, which is their brand new visitor center. So I'm going to use this layout, and then the next part of the process would be to begin to overlay the exhibits and the system elements. And the main way that we would go about doing that is we would go over to this drop-down list here with parts in it, and I can, for example, go into Mad Video Players if I want to add in a media server, and I can go through all of these different specifications to find the exact item that I want, and then basically drag it over to an exhibit, and then it will ask me to name which exhibit I'm putting this equipment with. And in that space, this is a reverse osmosis exhibit. So I'm going to go ahead and name this RO-1 for reverse osmosis. And then it's dropped that media server right into that exhibit. And now we need to add a display in there as well. So I can come in here and select a monitor. I'll go with a generic one for now. Grab this 27-inch one, drag and drop it over to the exhibit. And then again, it wants me to name which exhibit exactly this is going to. So I'm going to go with RO-1 for reverse osmosis. And now we have a media server and a display both in there. And as you can see, I have another exhibit already set up over here. And we would go through and do that for each of the exhibits in the entire space. And once you're done with that, you go up to create job, and it's going to output all of the files for you. If we actually try to hit create job now, we're going to get this error message. It says no access points found in grip. And what that is DrinkMe doing its status checking. So it's going to go through your project and tell you what's right about it as well as what is wrong with it. And we do not have an access point in here. So what we need to do is go back and add one of those in. So I'll go into my networking dropdown, Wi-Fi, and then I can throw an access point in here. And since this doesn't go to any exhibit in particular, I'll just name it AP-1. Now we've got our access point in there. So that's the general idea of how we get the equipment into the space. Like I said, we'd go around and do that for all of them, but let's just go ahead and pretend we've done that. And now we're going to create the project or create the job. And DrinkMe has gone through, it's done its status checking, and it did not find anything wrong with our design this time. So what it has done is it's gone through and generated a number of files, including a parts list, a power requirements list, thermal loading, system network configuration, including IP addresses, pre-configured T-Party show controller files, and individual configuration files that include media for each of QuickSilver's peripherals. So it generates all of these files and drastically increases the efficiency in your design process. So that's the basics of how DrinkMe works. And I want to go back into the lab so that I can show you some more of our QuickSilver Toolbox items. So bear with me while we switch viewpoints here for a second. So the next thing that I want to demonstrate for you is our Caterpillar guidance system. Caterpillar provides ADA support to visually impaired guests by taking them over a safe and clear path from one exhibit to the next using audio cues, and it also ensures that they have an equivalent experience of each exhibit. We can use RFID technology to help accomplish this, which is what I'm going to be demonstrating with today. I have this cane that's outfitted with an RFID sensor. We can also use our facial recognition technology, and that's going to provide an even more sophisticated solution for our Caterpillar guidance system. But let me go ahead and show you how works. Welcome to the MAD Lab. This is a demonstration of our Caterpillar system for the visually impaired. After this announcement, you will hear a click track. Please walk towards the source of the audio and use the cane to find the exhibit. So what happened is the RFID proximity was sensed by the system, and it was able to play the speech track for the exhibit that we arrived to. And following that, it's going to play a click track at the next exhibit so that we know what to walk towards. So if we follow the source of that click track, we can get to the next exhibit, and it will be able to pick up when we arrive to play the next audio track. This is a demonstration of how we can change the content of media using tone recognition. For the purposes of this Caterpillar demonstration, it shows how we can give you an equivalent experience when you get to an exhibit. At the end of this announcement, please go to your next quick track source for the next location. So again, we have a click track at the next exhibit, and if we follow that, we're going to find our next audio track at that exhibit. Do you want to get close and you can show them what the click track sounds like? This one's a little louder. So that's the click track, and as I walk towards that, it'll sense when we arrive. The Quick 2 exhibit is intended to show how we can have up to 4 different graphics and audio tracks running from one single server. This is the second and last station for our Caterpillar demonstration. After this announcement, please go to the next click track source, which will get you back to the entry of our MAD demo lab. So we now have our last click track coming over here, and if we just head on that direction, this is taking us to the exit of our exhibit experience. Thank you for visiting our MAD lab and for participating in the Caterpillar guidance system. You are now back at the entry to the lab, and of course the system can now guide you to wherever you want to go. We can help you find restrooms, gift stores, offices, and the exit of the building using this very same method. Thank you, Jessica, for that demonstration. So that was the basics of our Caterpillar tour guide system. We were able to direct people over safe and clear paths, which we would work with a client or a facilities manager to establish where we'd like people to walk to make sure that the exhibit space is perfectly safe for everyone. And we can also ensure that they have an equivalent experience by providing the speech tracks at each exhibit. If it is a busy or a noisy situation, we can also pair this with our Dormouse audio system. This is Dormouse right here. So it's compact, it's lightweight, and yet this unit still has 12 hours of battery life. What's more is it has much more capabilities than a typical audio tour guide system, because we can incorporate randomized audio as a base, and we can still add in certain sound cues or narration tracks over top of the randomized audio. So there's much more that can be done with this tour guide system. And we did develop this as an ADA solution for hearing impaired guests. So if the guest has a modern hearing aid, most of them are outfitted with a T-coil. And that means that they can receive audio from an inductive field. And this here is an inductive loop that we can plug into this device, and they can use Dormouse audio tour guide system with just this loop around them. Put this in your pocket, and it's a pretty hands-off way to receive that audio because it's going to go right into their hearing aids. So that's a little bit about Dormouse for you. The next thing in our QuickSilver Toolbox that I would typically show you is our Lifesaver solution. That is something that we use every single time we turn our demo system on and off, but I don't actually have a way to show it to you. But just know that it's running on a daily basis in our lab. I will be showing you, however, TrueCheck, which you'll remember TrueCheck acts as your own on-site AV technician. Excuse me. So it's possible to communicate, obviously, with a projector to know whether or not it is turned on. But it's much better to turn the projector on, output some color or bursts of white light, and be able to measure genuine changes in the light levels by using a light sensor to know that not only is your projector turned on, but it's functioning as well. Similarly, you can put a tone out from a speaker and have the system listen in to know that the amplifier is turned on and the speakers are working as expected. So I'm going to come over here and show you TrueCheck. It would usually run as you start up your exhibits for the day, and it's pretty hands-off. Otherwise, you can choose to receive a message saying, hey, TrueCheck went through and everything looks okay, but otherwise TrueCheck just does the work for you. I'm going to have to do it a little more manually because our exhibits are already up and running. So I have a QR code here that I can scan to pull up my controls. There we go. So this is our TrueCheck screen right here. And after we run our check, it's also going to be the status page, which is going to tell us the results of TrueCheck. So when I start the check, it's going to be going monitor by monitor over on that side of the room. They will light up and produce a tone as it goes through checking each monitor, and then it will also be checking this projector up here for light levels. That one's outfitted with a light sensor. Okay, so here we go. So TrueCheck has gone through and done its check, and this is our status page here. We have a couple of exhibits where it says that they're a little louder than normal or more quiet than normal. But typically what we would do after we install a system is we would set certain levels to have a calibration that it measures everything against to know what's considered normal is how you want your system to be running. So that's how TrueCheck functions. And I want to show you how we can incorporate some of our ADA solutions into QuickSilver's functionality. And I have a QR code here I'm going to show you. I can pull up these controls, and these are going to allow us to adjust the audio volume on the screen. So this is great for anyone in need of ADA accommodations if they have issues with hearing, if they need the volume to be a little louder on any given exhibit, they could just scan a QR code and easily pull up the controls on their own smart device to change the volume. So I can pump the volume up on this here. Or there's even a normal level, or we can turn it completely quiet. This is a great way to incorporate ADA solutions in a way that gives everyone a pretty easy way to access it by using the QR code. But we can make it even more seamless by using our facial recognition technology to implement it. So a user would register at the beginning of an experience. They would include a photo of themselves. They would say what ADA accommodations they require. And then when they walk up to an exhibit, the system would recognize them. It would refer back to those preferences that they specified, whatever ADA accommodations they might need. And within a second, it would completely change over to different content that perfectly fits their needs. I'm going to show you how we can apply this to some other ADA needs as well. Out in the lobby, I have another QR code I can show you. So we can also change the height of touch buttons so that anybody who is using a wheelchair, or if it's a smaller adult or even a child, would be able to touch buttons that otherwise are out of their reach. This is a lovely 84-inch monitor that LG helps us out with, but obviously the breadth of this monitor isn't something that any user would be able to access. So what we want to do is we want to have this QR code over here that I can come up and scan. Pull up these controls on my phone. And now we have a button here that says ADA option, and that's our visual ADA option. If I hit that, it's lowered these touch buttons. So now see they're all down here. Whereas before, some of them were all the way up, almost at the top of this monitor, which I didn't really even reach these ones up here. So that's going to make it so everybody is able to access those touch buttons. And if we wanted to serve guests who have visual needs as well, we could also provide, if it were a video, we could do enlarged subtitles for somebody who would otherwise not be able to read super small subtitles. We could also say, have a QR code that somebody could scan and pull up these controls again, and now see there's a high contrast button. And anybody who needs that kind of accommodation, if they have issues seeing, the high contrast can help with that. And then here is the high contrast version of our content. So that gives you an idea of the adaptability of our QuickSilver system. There's lots of things in our toolbox and always ways that we are growing the QuickSilver family of solutions. We would always love to continue this conversation with you, so please get in touch with us over phone or email, or if you're in the area, definitely come and stop by our lab. We always have new and fun stuff to show people, and it's really impactful if you ever get the opportunity to see it in person. So please keep in touch with us, and thank you for joining us for this webinar series. Now we're going to go back over to Brandy for our Q&A.
Hey, thanks for joining us, everybody. We are going to take just a second and let, excuse me, Maris and Jessica kind of reset for a minute. And we are going to go ahead and take your questions. Again, thanks so much for joining us. There are a few really, really great questions that we want to get to. You can use the Q&A panel or the chat. We'll be monitoring both of those, so please feel free. And once we have Maris available, then we will go ahead and get to the Q&A here. Hey, good to see you.
And
all right, you ready? I'm going to fire away. First question is, can DrinkMe create a single line drawing as well?
It doesn't at the moment. I mean, in principle, it could, but at the moment, it creates files that are intended for like a parts list and a bunch of other related stuff. You have to remember that when it comes to QuickSilver, single line really has reduced meaning because everything is controlled over Wi-Fi and everything is accessed over Wi-Fi. So your single line really is each individual exhibit as it stands. And we haven't generated those as part of what we're doing at the moment. So at the moment, you're getting parts lists, you're getting power, loading, heat load, and of course the file, the IP configuration files for each one of the QuickSilver components. So it's a bit like Amazon for QuickSilver for AV, whereby it turns out all of the files for each of the components, including media, as a matter of fact. So if you tell it what media you want to play at each location, it will put all of those media immediately on those files as well. And then the real biggie is that it pre-configures the show controller so that everything that can be pre-programmed is already automatically programmed. And other than that, it is all loaded, ready for you to be able to control things by exhibit name.
Very cool. Next question. When you say Dormouse is an open headset, what exactly does that mean?
So one of the things that I don't like about audio tours is how it isolates you from the people that you're with. So if you've got a headset like this, you can't hear things around you. And people get around that by using wands and by using other methods of listening to what the audio tour is doing. What we want to do with Dormouse is to have an open headset or even bone conduction or something like that, where you can hear what is going on around you. So if you're walking around the battlefield, you'll hear all this battlefield sound going on. but you'll still be with your family. You can still talk to your kids or your grandkids, your wife, your husband. And then the plan is to make sure that when we do kick these files off, each person in the group will get its own specific version. So a 5-year-old will get 5-year-old content. A 10-year-old will get 10-year-old curriculum relevant content. Grandma will get it in whatever language or style she wants, science-based, history-based, whatever you want, so that we can kick those off at the same time. And you can still talk, you can still hear each other. You're not going to be isolated from your family or groups of friends.
Perfect. Okay, question is, what program is needed to load the floor plan into DrinkMe?
DrinkMe does it itself. So you start off with a PDF and it loads a PDF and you overlay whatever you want to put on there. So it's a PDF loader.
Okay, perfect. Question about Lifesaver. How do you control knowing the projector turned back on, and how is it being controlled?
Our video servers have a link directly into the projector. So we go wirelessly to the video server, and then the video server is connected into the projector. So the video server actually does the work, which means that Tea Party, the show control system, which is working with Lifesaver to issue the actual command. So Lifesaver says, hey, projector RO1, I want you to go to standby mode because there's nobody in that space. Or I want you to go to low power mode because we have people in the next gallery, but they can't see the projector yet. They'll be able to see it in a few minutes. Go to low power mode. And so Tea Party then issues a command to the video server, and the video server has a direct connection. So it's all done wirelessly.
It's really useful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lovely tool.
Yeah, I'd say. Let's see. How do you account for visually impaired visitors who bring their own walking stick that is not set up with an RFID tag? Would a museum facility have to invest in tags to provide for guests?
The good thing is that the tags are peanuts. They're absolutely peanuts. So one way of doing it is to incorporate them in a piece of Velcro or to tape them on. And it wouldn't be that big of a deal to use these tags as throwaway items. You can recycle them by using Velcro and asking for them back. People who don't have a stick, you may have a pre-equipped one. People who would prefer to use the one without adding things to theirs. There's different ways of handling that. The canes themselves would easily have something added to it. The only problem you have with RFID, if you want to use RFID on the canes, is obviously if they're metallic. And if they are metallic sticks, then we'd either have to offset it slightly, and again, a little assembly, 3D printed, whatever we want to do with a tag on it would be one way of doing it. But the other way would be to ask them to swap sticks for the duration, swap canes for the duration, if they're okay with that. If they're not, the tags and even a piece of Velcro, the cost of that is negligible for the number of visitors you would expect to get through the space. And so, there's several ways of getting around that.
Very cool. All right, I think this might be our last question. What is the max range of RFID for Caterpillar?
For detection, when you walk into a gallery, we're using 6 to 8 feet, 10 feet, so very large field, so that we pick them up when we see somebody at the entry of a gallery so that we can guide them from that point onwards. And then when you're going from exhibit to exhibit, we go for very short range, so 4 to 6 inches, 8 inches, whatever you want to set that to, so that we know they're truly at that exhibit and they're at the source of the click track, so that we know that when it transitions from click track to announcement, we can actually make sure that they can hear that track and hear it well. And that's kind of the way that the system has been set up. So horses for courses kind of thing. Sometimes you want long range, sometimes you want short range. We can accommodate either or both.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. That will end that's all of our questions that we have. Of course, if you have more, we are totally open for all of that. So again, let us know. We're happy to share with you any of our information. I wanted to thank you for joining us today on this webinar. You can find us online at matsystems.com and on our social media platforms, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. This webinar is being recorded and will be up on our site shortly, so feel free to share this with your colleagues when you get a chance. We also want to thank InPark Magazine and Blue Loop for helping us promote our events. If you missed any of our AV++ webinar series, be sure to check them out and share them again with your colleagues. You can find them on our website and as well as on our YouTube page. Again, I thank you so much for being here today, and feel free to contact me via LinkedIn, Twitter, or at email at brandy@matsystems.com. Take care, stay safe, and hope to see you soon.